Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
I talk about therapeutic community treatment model, past, present, and future, followed by my colleague from Greece, Fedon, who's going to talk about the history of therapeutic community, and then we're going to follow by our colleague from Russia, who's going to talk about adolescent treatment. So I'm sorry that everybody's time is going to have to get scrunched down to a little less time just because of where we are.
My name is Ed Carlson. I'm the CEO of Odyssey House in New Orleans, Louisiana. And Ann, we're going to probably move this a little bit faster than we practice it. So first of all, Odyssey House, we offer comprehensive services, a full array of services. We're the largest addiction treatment provider in the state of Louisiana. We provide prevention, intervention programs. We have a medically supported detox. We have a short-term program, 28-day inpatient. We have a therapeutic community, which involves housing and intensive outpatient. We also have a lot of case management. We do a lot of housing work, and we have a medical clinic. So what we're going to talk about today is about the therapeutic community model, past, present, and future. And what I have to say is that we're very honored, I'm very honored to be doing this presentation with two fantastic ladies. We have Maggie Pike, who she's actually the founder of Odyssey House, Louisiana. She helped start the program almost 50 years ago. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the great work that she did and laid the foundation. We have Rosa Thomason, who runs our therapeutic community in New Orleans, and she does an amazing job. She's worked for Odyssey House for a million years, I don't know, like 16, 17 years. I've been with Odyssey House for about 18 years. And then so Maggie's going to talk about the past, how she started and what she did, which I think could be very valuable to starting up a therapeutic community. Rosa's going to talk about the present, what are some of the things we've had to do to sort of survive and to adapt. And then I'm going to talk about the future. Where is this therapeutic community model going? And so with that, next slide, I'm going to introduce Maggie Pike. Yay. All right, Maggie.
My name is Maggie Pike, and as Ed said, I was the founding executive director of Odyssey House in Louisiana, but I first started my own Odyssey in New Hampshire. Odyssey House Foundation was founded by Dr. Judy Ann Denson-Gerber. While in residency, Dr. Denson-Gerber's director suggested that she spend an hour or two a day working with individuals with substance abuse disorders. That led her to assembling in 1966 a group of individuals who wanted to learn how to live without using drugs. One of the things that she found when she was there is that because of the way they were funded, that you had to take methadone or you had to leave the program. So 16 of them elected to leave with her in 1966 and found Odyssey House. Before she found a permanent home, they slept in 11 temporary shelters, giving rise to the name of Odyssey, which Faden understands. The TC basics, and Faden is going to go on into this a little bit more in detail later, but the TC basics are a holistic approach that goes beyond the single-level approach of traditional psychiatry or just the use of medication. It's also the belief that the community that is created affects the recovery of the individual. Also, clients actively participate in the community and engage in work that allows them to re-socialize successfully into society. And one of the things that Odyssey did was that we used to have residents that actually ran the facility. Sometimes it was a little bit hairy, but they performed job functions. They worked in the kitchen, they worked in maintenance, and this was how they learned how to show up on time for a job, understand the repercussions of what they did, and so they were actively participating in the community, and that helped them to re-socialize themselves and get back into society. We use communication and relationships among the members of the community to aid the recovery process, and George DeLeon has talked a lot about that particular process in his work. The TC tools, and many of you use the same things, or similar things, they may be called something different, but these are the same ideas. Maxims and concepts. This promotes the cohesion by offering community members a common language for communicating behavioral expectations and the values associated with their recovery. Privileges and sanctions reinforce pro-social recovery supportive behaviors and extinguish behaviors that may undermine their recovery. Meetings, a variety of meetings in the TC, and they are used to review the goals, the procedures, and the functioning of the therapeutic community. Participants are always encouraged to be accountable for their behaviors and set goals for their well-being. The house structure, those who have made progress in changing their attitudes and behaviors serve as role models for right living and help others who are in earlier stages of recovery. And this, I think, is really important. One of the things that I always told when I hired staff members is I told staff members your first responsibility as a staff person is as a positive role model for the residents. Communication, positive peer communication in a mutual self-help environment are an important part of the therapeutic process. Also, each participant, we have job functions, and each participant is assigned a particular task or a job that helps teach the importance of work, respect, and self-reliance. As I said, I started in 1971 in New Hampshire. That was one of the first programs that Dr. Denzinger founded outside of New York, the New York area. I was a nurse. I didn't know anything about drugs. I just went to see this woman because there was a job position, and I thought, well, this would be interesting. So she hired me, and as I always tell Ed, one of the things that that worked for me and really tapped me into Odyssey was that this is 1971. I had a 3-month-old baby, and she told me I could bring my child to work every day. And I was, what kind of place is this? And so that began my Odyssey. So I worked in Odyssey, New Hampshire for 2 years, and then Congresswoman Lindy Boggs, former Congresswoman Lindy Boggs from Louisiana, obtained some money from the federal government to open a facility in New Orleans. As was the way Odyssey started all of their programs is that they would pull together a group of staff and residents from all of the facilities, try to match people together from other facilities throughout the country. We lived together for 6 weeks to get to know each other, to establish the structure of the program so that once we hit Louisiana, we could hit the ground running and start admitting residents right away. So when we got there, the building that we used, which is really wonderful, had originally been an orphanage, then it was a senior care home, and then it became our facility, and we bought it actually from the Sisters of the Holy Family. So it's been a wonderful tradition of providing service for over 160 years. So the realities of a startup, many of you have had startups, is that when we first started, we relied heavily on the kindness of those in the community who believed in our mission, and so we got furniture and supplies and food, and was donated by residents in the neighborhood, by bakeries, by anybody. I mean, if you would get a knock on your door, it was Odyssey House asking you for something. We had a small amount of money. Back in those days, we all functioned under very little state and federal dollars. But the nice thing about that is that once you have that concept and once you get started, people are drawn to you. And so we developed a great supportive environment in that city. And expanding populations. Originally, Odyssey was primarily a treatment facility for those addicted to heroin. But as street drugs became more varied, Odyssey House has adapted and developed its programs to serve the changing needs and challenges of its residents. So the expansion of populations is that we provide services to, we started providing services to adolescents, to women with children, and training programs such as culinary arts and an upholstery shop. Now Rose is going to talk about the modernization of the TC.
Good job.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rosa Thomason, and I am the program manager for the transition program, TC model, for Odyssey House. I am originally from Honduras, Central America. I am bilingual. I speak Spanish. I've been with the substance abuse treatment for 16, maybe a little longer than, actually it's more than 16 years. And it is a pleasure to be here in front of you guys doing this presentation today. The traditional TC methodology. From its opening in 1973 to 2005, Odyssey House operated as a 60-bed TC model treatment program with clients living in the program from 18 to 24 months. The peer community was the agent of recovery. Individuals participated as functional community members in an intensive 24-hour residential community under a highly regulated daily regimen. The program placed a greater emphasis on the self and group process as the source of recovery. With changing times, in 2005, a major natural disaster, Hurricane Katrina, decimated the city of New Orleans. However, the influx of federal aid into the area paved the way for services expansion for Odyssey House. Odyssey House aggressively started applying for grants, which gave the agency additional funding sources and revenue streams. Much of the services changes began to happen in the behavioral healthcare field, so Odyssey House was able to adapt its services models. However, not all of these changes were positive, including the beginning of reduced length of stay due to changes in funding streams. Odyssey House has to start adapting its traditional TC programming. TC evolved into a mainstream human service. We started having mixed professionals, which now includes a mix of professionals, same who have experienced recovery through a TC, as well as traditional trained professionals. Right now in our facility, we have a lot of clients who actually work with us that have completed the program with our agency. Evaluation and research. Growing bodies of literature and research have established that the TC as an effective treatment modality. Standards. Programmatic and staff competency standards, credential requirements, and uniform training. Professional associations. The C professional associations have been established. Adaptations. Adaptations for special settings, special populations, and public funding requirements while retaining common features of the genetic TC. Growing continuum. To adapt to the current changing healthcare landscape, Odyssey House grew from a single program organization into a multifaceted, multi-program agency as it's continually seeking new ways to improve, enhance, and expand its continuum of care. Our continuum of care consists of outreach and prevention, our medical supported detox, residential treatment, intensive outpatient, primary behavioral health care, housing and case management. Our clients can come into these programs at any phase of the program. They don't necessarily have to start with medical detox. They can come in at any time through the continuum of care. TC in the continuum. However, the shifting healthcare system change did not fully align with the classic TC model. With shifting regulations and funding sources, Odyssey House had to find a space for the TC model within its continuum. We found this fit by combining intensive outpatient services with housing and call it the program transitions. This is different than the traditional outpatient program, where the clients live out in the community and then come into treatment. In the way that we set it up, they were able to live there and attend treatment. So the attendance rate and everything is improved and is much higher. New service delivery model, medically supported detox, appropriate for withdrawing from many substances, including alcohol, opiates, and benzoids. Utilize medication-assisted treatment MAT to treat withdrawals. The short-term inpatient, approximately 20 days, inpatient treatment program focused on the most basic aspects of drug rehab. Treatments such as abstinence from substance use, life skill buildings, and recovery tools. And then there's the transition program, the TC program. This is a 3-6 months relapse prevention model that combines therapeutic interventions with housing, employment skill buildings. Clients reside in a safe and sober living environment while developing life skills that enable them to gain employment and a strong support system. We also have wraparound services, primary care, permanent supportive housing, sober living, case management, harm reduction services, HIV, hepatitis testing, and educational interventions. TC modifications. The length of stay. Financial constraints pressure TCs to shorten planned treatment directions. Increased flexibility. Increased emphasis on orientation and instruction. Reduction in the duration of various activities. More individualized treatment. Finding paths for priority population. Even with the shift in funding, Odyssey House found ways to enhance services for priority population, such as ethnic, racial, minority, and people at high risk for HIV and AIDS by applying to federal grants. Odyssey House Empowerment Group of Addiction, the Omega program, was built into its IOP-TC program and focused on community outreach, gender-specific counseling, substance use disorder treatment, case management, and HIV testing for ethnic, racial, minority men and women. Now you guys are going to see a small presentation on one of our Omega clients.
All right, so what's up next for the TC? So like many things, 50 to 60 years go by, adaptation becomes important for survival. Traditional healthcare has modified, and we have to modify along with it. Rather than resisting change, TCs can offer a path forward by moving and modernizing with change. So for example, medical assisted treatment. I mean, there was a time where you couldn't even take an aspirin in a TC. It was very, very focused on non-substance, anything that you couldn't have to maintain your sobriety. So, but really, technology and the way things have happened, medically assisted treatment is sort of the wave of the future, and for helping people to deal with cravings, addiction, and other things associated with your body changing as you're starting to get clarity. So this is going to be a big thing changing in the future. Shortened durations and outpatient programs. So one of the things that is going to be happening is there's going to be a lot of changes in terms of how long government's willing to pay for treatment. But sometimes you can modify things by combining housing and continue the process for them as long as possible. Healthcare reform. So in the U.S., we've been doing a lot around, there's been a lot of things around healthcare reform, which has helped with Medicaid expansion to help fund various different things. But these changes, they come with a lot of restrictions, and you have to work towards how you might be able to modify and work through those things. So also in the U.S., we have a thing called the Federally Qualified Health Center, which really helps for us. We're one of the few TCs that has an FQHC associated with it, where we combine primary care, mental health, and substance abuse treatment services all in an integrated fashion. So service gaps, really focusing on areas where there's a special needs population has been mentioned, like women with dependent children, adolescent services, people from the LGBTQ community. It's very important that we focus on helping to connect with these populations. So lessons learned from the last 50 years as a TC, the field's changing. We have to focus on client care, which is the most important part. We have to return to our TC foundation, and if it works, you can make it work. Look, if anybody ever was interested from our audience, especially people here in India trying to struggle to start a TC, we're happy to share our curriculum as a basis to be able to start. These slides will be shared. I have my email is up here. All you have to do is contact me, and we'll send you an electronic version of our curriculum. And that is all I had. I had this whole section I was going to do about how the Greek language has impacted the language of the world, but I decided I'd pass on that. So I'm going to hand this over to Faden now. Thank you all.